What's up everybody, Nicola here. So a couple months ago, I accidentally ran an experiment where I slept over 10 hours for an entire month. And today I'm going to talk about how I felt during this time, what I noticed, and the pros and cons to sleeping more than 10 hours for a whole month. So I say this was an accidental experiment because this isn't actually something that I set out to do. I spent some time in Vancouver this summer, and the two other people in the house, which was my girlfriend and another one of our friends, were both working in East Coast time, which meant that they had to wake up at 5:30 a.m. every single day. Now, that also meant that they were going to bed at like 9 a.m. or 9:30, and essentially since I had come from the East Coast, I was already kind of getting tired at 9:30 p.m., so I decided to just go to bed with them. It was dark, there was nothing really to do anyways. So I'd just go to bed at 9:30, except when they would wake up at 5:30 a.m., I wouldn't really feel like waking up. You know, it's still dark outside, it's 5:30 a.m. You don't really need to get up. I didn't start working till like 9. So I would end up kind of staying in bed, falling asleep again, and sleeping until 7:30 or 8 a.m. pretty much every day. So basically I slept from like 9:30 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day for over a month, like almost 2 months really. I actually wasn't sleeping 10 hours straight. I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m. when their alarm rang, and I'd usually be up for like, 5 or 10 minutes before going back to bed. I think it'd be really hard for me to sleep 10 or 11 hours straight without waking up. So I don't know if this affects the experiment in any way. Also, since this was an accidental experiment, I didn't like journal anything throughout the process. So I'm kind of saying all this from memory. I don't have like exact notes as to how I felt, but I have a pretty good idea. I pretty much remember it was only a couple months ago. So let's get into it. I normally get about 7.5 hours of sleep a day. I aim for 8. I definitely never get less than 7. So I want to say somewhere around 7.5. I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea almost ever, and I'd like to think that I'm someone who's normally not sleep deprived to begin with, or at least I'm much better than what seems to be the average here in the US/Canada. So I'd like to think that I'm normally pretty well rested, and I usually feel pretty good. So here's how I felt after sleeping 10 hours a day for a little while. In the morning, getting up around 7:30 or 8 a.m., I felt really well rested. I'm normally kind of sluggish to get out of bed. It takes me like probably 5 or 10 minutes, but during this time, I was able to get out of bed pretty much as soon as I got up, so that was really good. The downside was, because I was sleeping this much, I was feeling really sore. My traps were feeling really tight and my back was pretty sore. I feel like I'd sometimes sleep in like really weird positions, so I was waking up with like a stiff back most mornings, which would kind of loosen up during the day, but this was one negative that I noticed. During the day, I normally have pretty bad restlessness. I feel like every 20 minutes to half an hour, I need to like get up, walk around. My joints feel kind of like stiff and I need to just move them a little bit. And I felt like when I was sleeping this much, this was completely gone. I noticed that I would sometimes sit for 2 or 3 hours straight and I would just be able to sit, focus, do my work, and I'd never really had the need to get up or walk around like I normally do. The biggest difference that I noticed was the concentration, which kind of ties into what I just said. I was able to focus for 2 or 3 hours straight. The time would go by, I wouldn't even notice. Normally I'd like to like pick up my phone or do something, kind of like lose concentration or go in and out of it, and I felt like I was laser focused. It was very strange. Almost reminded me of how, I don't know if you've like written an exam recently and you don't really have anything you can like fidget or distract yourself with, so you're like laser focused on writing the exam. That's pretty much how I felt whenever I was doing my work during the day. So this was something that I definitely noticed. It's probably the biggest difference out of all the things I'm going to mention. This was also a slight difference that I think that I noticed. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like I was in a really good mood throughout the time. Now, this is kind of hard to tell because I'm normally in a pretty good mood. It's pretty easy to, it's pretty difficult to like piss me off, and I normally don't get agitated that easily, but I found that I was in an even better mood for this time while I was sleeping so long. I just sort of remember like not being bothered by little things, or sort of not being bothered at all for the month. The whole month is like a very positive memory in my head. This might be due to other circumstances. You know, I was in Vancouver, we were hiking a lot, it was a great time. But I also just feel like these little things really weren't upsetting me during this month, and maybe it could be attributed to the fact that I was sleeping much more than usual. So a negative thing that I noticed is that my motivation seemed to decline a little bit. And this might sound a little bit contradictory because I said that I was feeling less lethargic, more energized and stuff like that. So let me explain what I mean. For stuff that's habitual, stuff that I need to do every day anyways, like work and other stuff like that, I was very focused and I found that I was able to complete my work much faster and much more effectively. But for stuff that I'm still working on forming habits for, that I sort of rely on motivation to complete, stuff like working out and to some extent making these videos, I found that I was not really motivated to do these extra things. And that's why I didn't really post a video throughout that entire time. But out of all the things I mentioned, I think the biggest negative was that it was really, really hard to fall asleep at nighttime. I'm normally the type of person who gets into bed and within 5 minutes I'm asleep, sleeping soundly, and I don't usually wake up either until I need to pee or until the morning. But I found that it was much, much harder to fall asleep. When I'd go to bed at 9:30 p.m., I'd usually spend what seemed to be at least 15 or 20 minutes sort of lying down with my eyes closed, thinking about the day and stuff like that before I actually managed to fall asleep. I did also notice that during the time that I was sleeping so much, I really enjoyed sleeping. It sounds kind of weird because most people really enjoy sleeping, but you know, usually you have stuff you want to do, like watch Netflix or watch YouTube videos or something that kind of distracts you from going to bed when you should be going to bed earlier. And I was really feeling excited to sleep every night. It was almost as if I was looking forward to sleeping. It was very strange because normally I'm the type of person who knows that sleep is important, but I kind of don't like how we waste so much time sleeping. I wish that I could feel just as rested not sleeping so much so that I had more time to do other stuff. But for this short period of time, I was really excited about sleeping, and it didn't feel like a waste of time, even though it normally does. So most scientists do agree that sleep is absolutely crucial for us and recommend sleeping anywhere between 7 and 9 hours for adults. And I actually normally sleep between that range, but I couldn't find a lot of research on whether sleeping more than 10 hours or more than the recommended 9 is actually beneficial to us, or whether it's just a huge waste of time. I do, however, feel like, based on my experience, there's sort of a point of diminishing returns where sleeping more doesn't necessarily make you feel that much better. I'd say for me, that's around the 8.5 hour mark. I'd rather have those extra 2 hours in the day to do stuff at a slightly less than ideal self than have to sleep those 2 extra hours and be like super focused, super concentrated, super energized, stuff like that. So for me, the point of diminishing returns is roughly around the 8.5 hour mark. When I was sleeping over 10 hours a day, the days felt really, really short sometimes. I felt like I would wake up, you know, between doing all the things you need to do, like working, cooking, eating, stuff like that. I didn't really have that much extra time in the day before it was time for bed again. I feel like I really noticed these extra 2 hours of free time that I normally would have had. I also really like being tired enough to be able to fall asleep as soon as I go to bed. And I understand that I'm very fortunate that I don't have any sleep problems which prevent me from falling asleep. But I really took that for granted before. And I really like being able to sleep right away. I really didn't like the feeling of lying in bed awake and not being able to fall asleep. And I think that's an added problem that comes with sleeping so many hours in a day. So in conclusion, if you sleep less than 7 hours a day, I highly recommend that you try sleeping more. The benefits of sleep are absolutely proven, and you'll be much happier throughout the day, and I feel like you live a much better life when you have enough sleep. However, if you're like me and you already sleep between 7 and 9 hours a day and you already feel pretty good, pretty well rested most of the time, I don't think there's too much added benefit to sleeping any more than that. Definitely there are some noticeable benefits, but I don't think it's worth it for the amount of extra time you spend sleeping. I'd rather spend that time doing something else, enjoying the world, or watching YouTube videos. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps me out a lot. Also, click subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. And other than that, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I hope you get a good night's sleep tonight. Take care.